Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and a very good evening to all of you. I hope you all are fine. So let's start today's lesson. So we are studying how to talk to anyone, and we are on the page number 76. And yes, let's start please. How to meet, we got the dictionary. Okay, how to meet the people you want to meet. Okay. So, say you have scrutinized the body of the important business contact you want to meet. You have searched in vain from the tip of his cowlick to the toes of his boots. Okay, he is not sporting a single what's it. If you strike out finding something to comment on, resort to the who's that technique. Like a persistent politicians, go to party giver and say, that man or woman over there looks interesting. Who is he or she? Then ask for an introduction. Don't be hesitant. The party giver will be pleased. You find one of the guests interesting. If, however, you are loath to pull the party giver away from his or her other guests, so you still can perform who's that. Loath, you are loath. So, let's take the meaning loath. Yes. Loath, naraz. Okay, bedil. So, agar tum bedil ho, pull the party giver away from his or her other guest. Okay, so you still can perform who's that. This means don't ask for a formal introduction. Simply pump the party giver for just enough information to launch you. Find out about the stranger's job, interest, and hobbies. Suppose the party giver says, "Oh, that's Joe Smith. I'm not sure what his job is, but I know he loves to ski. You have just been given the icebreaker you need." Now you make a beeline for Joe Smith. "Hi, you are Joe Smith, aren't you? Suzanne was just telling me what a greater skier you are. Where do you ski? You get the idea? Okay. So who's that? Technique number 13, who's that? Who's that is the most effective, least used by non-politicians, meeting people device ever contrived. Okay, let's see this word.
Contrive.
यानी जिसके खिलाफ सबसे ज़्यादा साजिश की गई है. Okay.
Contrived.
ठीक है ना? Yes, a pump for a few facts. Where is that? The device ever contrived, जिसके खिलाफ क्या की गई है? साजिश की गई है. Simply ask the party giver to make the introduction or pump for a few facts that you can immediately turn into icebreaker. Now, the third in our little try of meeting who you want tricks. Okay. Number 14. How to break into a tight crowd. So, the woman you have decided you must meet is wearing no what's it. Can't find the host for the who's that technique. To make matters worse, she is deep in conversation with a group of her friends. Seems quite hopeless that you will maneuver a meeting, doesn't it? You can't just say, "Excuse me, I just thought I would eavesdrop in and say hello." No obstacle blocks the resolute politician who always has a trick or 10 up his or her sleeves. A politico would resort to the eavesdrop-in technique. Eavesdropping, of course, conjures image of clandestine activities, wiretapping, Watergate breakings, or spies skulking around in the murky shadows. Eavesdropping has historical precedent with politicians, so in a pinch, it naturally comes to mind. At parties, stand near the group of people you wish to infiltrate. Then wait for a word or two you can use as a wedge to break into the group. Wedge. تکونیا, ایک سینڈوچ ایک رکھنا, ٹھیک ہے, ایک گٹکا تکونیا کہہ لیجیے, ایک شیپ, ٹھیک ہے. A wedge to break into the group. Excuse me, I couldn't help overhearing that you, and then whatever is relevant here. For example, I couldn't help overhearing your discussion of Bermuda. I am going there next month for the first time. Any suggestions? Now you are in the circle and can direct your comments to your intended. Okay. So technique number 14. No what's it? No host for who's that? No problem. Just sidle up behind the swarm of folks you want to infiltrate and open your ears. Wait for any flimsy excuse and jump in with, excuse me, I couldn't help but overhear. Yes? Will they be taken aback momentarily? Will they get over it momentarily? Will you be in the conversation? Absolutely. Okay? So let us now hop back on the train that first explored small talk city and travel to the land of meaningful communicating. تو مطلب یہ کہ اب یہاں تک جو ہے وہ بات ہو گئی ہے, مطلب چھوٹی باتیں کیسے کرنی ہے, شروعات کیسے کرنی ہے. اب ہم جو ہے میننگ فل, معنی خیز جو ہے گفتگو کیسے کرنی ہے, اس کی طرف ہم بڑھ رہے ہیں. نمبر 15. How to make where are you from sound exciting. You wouldn't dream of going to a party naked. And I hope you wouldn't dream of letting your conversation be exposed naked and defenseless against the two inevitable assaults. Where are you from? And what do you do? So when asked this question, most people, like dunking a frozen steak on a china platter, drop a brick of frozen geography or baffling job title on the asker's conversational platter, then they slap on the muzzle. You are at a conversation. Everyone you meet will, of course, ask, and where are you from? When you give them the short form, make it naked city answer, I am from Muscatine, Iowa, or Millimocket, Maine, Winnemucca, Nevada, or anywhere they haven't heard of. What can you expect except a blank stare? Even if you are a relatively big city sleeker from Denver, Colorado, Detroit, Michigan, or San Diego, California, you'll receive a panicked look from all but American history professors. They are rapidly racking their brain thinking, what do I say next? Even the names of world-class burgs like New York, Chicago, Washington, and Los Angeles inspire less than riveting responses. When I tell people I am from New York City, what are they expected to say? Seen any good muggings lately? So do humanity and yourself a favor. Never ever gives just one sentence response to the question, where are you from? Give the asker some fuel for his tank, some fodder for his trough. Fodder means chara. Trough. Nala.
Trough.
ٹھیک ہے, کچھ اس کے نالے کے لیے کچھ چارہ دو. Give the hungry communicator something to conversationally nibble on. Okay. Nibble means کاٹنا, yes, جس پہ وہ کٹ سکے, مطلب کہ بات کر سکے, آگے بات جو ہے وہ بڑھا سکے. All it takes is an extra sentence or two about your city, some interesting fact, some witty observation to hook the asker into the conversation. Okay. Several months ago, a trade association invited me to be its keynote speaker on networking and teaching people to be better conversationalists. Just before my speech, I was introduced to Mrs. Devlin, who was the head of the association. How do you do? She asked. How do you do? I replied. Then Mr. Devlin smiled, anxiously awaiting a sample of my stimulating conversational expertise. I asked her where she was from. Okay. She plunked a frozen Columbus, Ohio, and a big expectant grin on my platter. I had to quickly thaw her answer. What is that? Thaw? No. Throw or thaw? Okay. Thaw maybe. Yes, thaw. Thaw means pighlana. Okay, pighalna, pighlana.
Thaw.
I had to quickly thaw her answer into digestible conversation. My mind thrashed into action. Lil's thought pattern: Gulp, Columbus, Ohio. I have never been there. Okay. Criminy. What do I know about Columbus? I know a fellow named Jeff, a successful speaker who lives there, but Columbus is too big to ask if she knows him. And besides, only kids play the "do you know so and so" game. My panicked silence surge continued. I think it's named after Christopher Columbus, but I am not sure, so I better keep my mouth shut on that one. 4 or 5 other possibilities raced through my mind, but I rejected them all as too obvious, too adolescent, or too off the wall. I realized by now that seconds had passed, and Mrs. Devlin was still standing there with a slowly dissipating smile on her face. She was waiting for me, the expert who, within the hour, was expected to teach her trade association lessons on scintillating conversation. Scintillating. चिंगारी, चमकता हुआ, चमकती हुई बात, चमकती हुई गुफ्तगू. ठीक है. Scintillating.
Scintillating.
To spew forth words of wit or wisdom. Oh, Columbus gay, I mumbled in depression, watching her face fall into the worried expression of a patient being asked by the surgeon, knife poised in hand, "Where is your appendix?" I never came up with stimulating conversation on Columbus, but just then under the knife, I created the following technique for posterity. I call it "Never the Naked City." Posterity. Nasl, aulad, naslan ba'da naslin. Okay. So following technique for posterity, I call it "Never the Naked City." So, yeah. Whenever someone asks you the inevitable "and where are you from?" never ever unfairly challenge their powers of imagination with a one-word answer. Learn some engaging facts about your hometown that conversational partners can comment on. Then, when they say something clever in response to your bait, they think you are a great conversationalist. Okay? So, different bait for shrimp or sharks. Okay, shrimp. So this is shrimp, right? Jhinga. So this is jhinga or shark. Different bait for shrimp or sharks. A fisherman uses different bait to bag bass or bluefish. Okay, so and you will obviously throw out different conversational bait to snag simple shrimp or sophisticated sharks. Your hook should relate to the types of person you are speaking with. I'm originally from Washington D.C. If someone at say an art gallery asked me where I was from, I might answer Washington D.C. designed, by the same city planner who designed Paris. This opens the conversational possibilities to the artistry of city planning, Paris, other cities' plans, European travel, and so forth. At a social party of a single, I would opt for another answer. I am from Washington, D.C. The reason I felt is there were 7 women to every man when I was growing up. Now the conversation can turn to the ecstasy or agony for being single, the perceived lack of desirable man everywhere, or even flirtatious possibilities. Okay. यानी फ्लर्ट करने वाले इम्कानात. In a political group, I would cast a current fact from the constantly evolving political face of Washington. No need to speculate on the multitude of conversational possibilities that unlocks. Where do you get your conversational bait? Start by phoning the Chamber of Commerce or Historical Society of your town. Search the World Wide Web and click on your town and open an old-fashioned encyclopedia, all rich sources for future stimulating conversations. Learn some history, geography, business statistics, or perhaps a few fun facts to tickle future friends' funny bones. The Devlin debacle inspired further research. The minute I got home, I called the Columbus Chamber of Commerce and the Historical Society. Say you two are from Columbus, Ohio, and your new acquaintance lays it on you. Where are you from? When you are talking to a business person, your answer could be, I am from Columbus, Ohio. You know, many major corporations do their product testing in Columbus because it's so commercially typical. In fact, it's been called the most American city in America. They say if it booms or bombs in Columbus, it booms or bombs nationally. So talking with someone with a German last name, tell her about Columbus, historic German village with the brick streets and the wonderful 1850s style little houses. It is bound to inspire stories of the old country. Your conversation partner's surname is Italian. Tell him Genoa. Italy is Columbus' sister city. Okay? So talking with an American history buff, tell him that Columbus was indeed named after Christopher Columbus and that a replica of the Saint Maria is anchored in the Scioto River. Talking with a student, tell her about the 5 universities in Columbus. The possibilities continues. You suspect your conversation partner has an artistic bent? You throw out casually, Columbus is the home of artist George Bellows. Okay, so Columbusites prepare some tasty snacks for askers even if you know nothing about them. Here is a goodie. Tell them you always have to say Columbus, Ohio, because there is always a Columbus, Arkansas, Columbus, Georgia, Columbus, Indiana, Columbus, Kansas, Columbus, Kentucky, Columbus, Mississippi, Columbus, Montana, Columbus, Nebraska, Columbus, New Jersey, Columbus, New Mexico, Columbus, North Carolina, Columbus, North Dakota, Columbus, Pennsylvania, Columbus, Texas, Columbus, and Wisconsin. That spreads the conversational possibilities to 15 other states. Remember, as a quotable notable once said, no man would listen to you talk if he didn't know it was his turn next. Okay, so a postscript to the hellish experience I had with Columbus. Months later, I mentioned the trauma to my speaker friend from Columbus, Jeff. Jeff explained his house was really in a smaller town just minutes outside Columbus. What town, Jeff? Ghana, Ohio. Ghana means hell in Hebrew, he said, and then went on to explain why he thought ancient Hebrew historians were clairvoyant. Okay, so clairvoyant, we have read it in NCERT books. غیب بین,
clairvoyant.
تو مطلب غیب کی پیشگوئی کریں. Thanks, Jeff. I know you would never lay a naked city on any of your listeners. Okay, so what to do? I just read it, man. Okay, number 16. How to come out a winner every time they asked, and what do you do? So, third only to death and Texas in the assurance a new acquaintance will soon chirp. And what do you do? Is it fitting and proper they should make that query? We will pick up that sticky wicket later. For the moment, these few defensive moves help you take your crackjacker, communicator credentials when asked the inevitable question. First, like never the naked city, don't toss a short shrift answer in response to the asked breathless inquiry. You leave the poor fish flopping on the deck when you just say your title. I'm an actuary, an auditor, an author, an astrophysicist. Have mercy so he or she doesn't feel like an nincompoop outsider asking what are kind of actualizing, auditing, authorizing or astrophysicing do you do? Okay, so what does it mean? This is nincompoop. What is it? Nincompoop. Chdiya, bewqoof. A stupid, foolish person. So he doesn't feel like a nincompoop. वो अपने आप को बेवकूफ़ ना समझे. इतनी सारी खूबियाँ मत गिना दो एक साथ. You are an attorney. Don't leave it to laymen to try to figure out what you really do. Flesh it out. tell a little story your conversation partner can get a handle on. For example, if you are talking with a young mother, say, I'm an attorney, our firm specializes in employment law. In fact, now I have involved in a case where a company actually discharged a woman for taking extra maternity leave that was a medical necessity. A mother can relate to that, right? So technique number 16, never the naked job. So when asked the inevitable, and what do? You may think, I'm an economist or an educator or an engineer, is giving enough information to engender good conversation. However, to one who is not an economist, educator or an engineer, you might as well be saying, I'm an paleontologist, psychoanalyst, pornographer. Flesh it out. Throw out some delicious facts about your job for a new acquaintance to munch on. Okay? Otherwise, they will soon excuse themselves, preferring the snack back at the cheese tray. Okay? So talking with a business owner, say I'm an attorney. Our firm specializes in employment law. My current case concerns as an employee who is being sued by one of her staff for asking personal questions during the initial job interview. A business owner can relate to that. Okay? So painful memories of naked job flashers. I still harbor painful recollections of being tongue-tied when confronted by naked job flashers, like the time a fellow at a dinner party told me, I'm a nuclear scientist. My weak, oh, that must be fascinating, reduced me to a mental molecule in his eyes. Okay, so the chap on my other side announced, I am in industrial abrasive, and then paused, waiting for me to be impressed. My golly, you must have to be a shrewd judge of character to be in industrial abrasive. Didn't fly either. We three sat in silence the rest of the meal. Okay, so abrasive, what is that? छीलने की शय, रगड़ने या खराश का सबब, तल्ख. ठीक है, तो यहाँ पे मुराद तलखी होगा, एब्रेसिव छीलने की इंडस्ट्री में हूँ. Just last month a new acquaintance bragged, I am planning to teach Tibetan Buddhism at Truckee Meadows Community College, and then clammed up, I knew less about Truckee Meadows that I did about Tibetan Buddhism. Whenever people ask you what do you do, give them some mouth to ear resuscitation, so they can catch their breath and say something. Resuscitation. Okay. Resuscitation is
resuscitation.
Hayate now.
Resuscitation.
So this is resuscitation. Okay? Give them some mouth to ear resuscitation so that they can catch their breath and say something. ठीक है, मतलब उनको हयाते नौ दीजिए, मतलब बोलने का मौका दीजिए उनको, कोई एक ऐसा पॉइंट छोड़िए. Okay, so that's enough for today. Thank you. Jazakumullah khair. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.